Hi, my name's Carol Hassel, and I am chairman of the board of the Charlotte Spirituality Center this year. And on behalf of the board, I am interviewing graduates from our program, people who have been a part of our community and continue to be a part of our community. We're doing these interviews because we want to introduce you to the face of the Charlotte Spirituality Center. And we'd like for the people who have been in our community to tell you about what drew them to our center, what their experience was at the center, and now to share with you what they're doing beyond the center as well. So today I have Ann Fitzgerald-Aichinger. Ann is a Presbyterian Church USA pastor. And Ann, you can tell us whatever you'd like to about yourself, and then tell us what drew you to the center. Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm pastor at Central Presbyterian Church in Bristol, Virginia. It is the church that my father was pastor at, and my husband and I came as co-pastors interim, and then they called us as co-pastors. And a year ago, my husband died, and so now I am the pastor of this church. So it's just a different place to be. What drew me to Charlotte Spirituality Center? I had been a part of a spiritual direction program as a client. I had a student who needed a client, and she reached out to our church, and I said, might as well see what this is all about. And so she helped me really discern a lot about who I was and where God was calling me and what God was calling me to do. Then we were at my husband and I were at a conference for evangelism and new church development in Florida one year. And one of the speakers said, if you have a dream or you have a sense of calling to do something new and different, don't wait for a good time. Today is the right time. I don't know what he said after that. I nudged Frank and I said, we need to go talk. And Frank's eyes were like, what? What happened? What happened? I'm like, it's okay. We just need to go talk. So we didn't go to the next workshop. We went back to our hotel room, and I told him what I was thinking and what I was sensing. And he said, let's find a program and work on that. So the rest of the afternoon and evening, we looked at a variety of programs, spiritual direction programs around the country. Some were in residence only, which wasn't really going to be very helpful. Some had partial in residence. Some were very expensive. Others were moderately priced. And I was like, none of this is working. None of this is right yet. So we kept praying about it. And when we got home to our home in Conover, North Carolina, outside of Hickory, a couple of months or a couple of weeks later in the Charlotte Observer was this big front page article about the Charlotte Spirituality Center. And both of us went, what is this? So I made a couple of phone calls. I looked up the website. It was still when it was newly forming, and it was at a different site. I remember I was invited to come down for the Christmas party and to meet some people and to kind of get a feel for it. So I worked on that, or I was working on my application. And so we decided to go down, and it was wonderful. It was the right place. And I was told you could, if you're interested, come and be a part of kind of a prerequisite 6-month intro to what this is all about. We're going to start in January. Okay. So for one day a month for 6 months, I came down to Charlotte, an hour drive, for a whole day's worth of workshop, engagement, discernment. And it was exactly where I needed to be. And so in that summer, the center actually moved to its location now. And I signed up, for the 3-year program beginning in the fall. And from day one, it was the perfect match. It was what I had been searching for. And my my engagement with all the studies was wonderful. I may be jumping ahead. So anyway.
No. Well, I was just curious, would you be willing to say, you know, it was a perfect match. It was exactly what I was looking for. Can you tell us what you were looking for and how you knew it, you know?
I didn't know, you know, you're never real clear what it is that God is calling you to do.
Mm-hmm.
But the intention of what that felt like was what I needed for my ministry and for my own personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was different than continuing education. It was about really gaining some new skills. And I knew I wanted to be better at discerning, because I work with a lot of people, especially teenagers, in figuring out, where is God calling me and what does God want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought maybe this would be an opportunity to kind of fine tune listening skills, but also to be able to learn to ask the right questions, probing questions that wouldn't just shut off conversation, but would actually engage. So even in the first couple of classes that we had, I would go home and Frank was like, this is where you're supposed to be. And I'm like, this is where we're supposed to be. And he was so encouraging about all that and making sure that I had that space and that time, because we were serving a church at that time, and the church understood that that was part of my ministry.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the parts that really surprised me was in the second year of classes, I was encouraged to go ahead and start taking clients and practicing my spiritual direction work and doing the verbatims and talking with my supervisor and making sure that all worked well. And it just clicked. The church just blossomed from that. I had 5 people out of my church who just wanted someone to talk to about their spirituality, who they were, what could they do more to grow in their faith, in their trust in God, and in their love.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones who I worked with were very appreciative. So I appreciate the center having enough trust in me as a pastor to be willing to give me a little extra leeway to take on some clients early, even before I really knew what I was doing. If that makes sense.
Should we edit that out? No, no, we should
Because
not.
you were a part of that.
Yeah, I know it. I know it. I know it was amazing. Really, really amazing. Well, so in classes there, could you just say a little bit about your experience in the program and at the center? Just, things that were challenging, things that were highlights of the time, or just a little bit about that.
There was a lot of reading, and a good bit of writing, reflecting, journaling, however you want to describe that. And so there was some sense of self-discipline to be a part of that, because the classes were every week. I signed up for the every week program, at least initially. And I learned so much about myself, things that I didn't even realize, key words that might trigger an emotion in me that I had to deal with. But it only improved the way I do ministry, because I'm aware of those things in such a way that I can help others to maybe see those as well. I loved writing the papers. I loved writing my biography. I loved writing about and researching about the theologian who has impacted my life. I did C.S. Lewis and just enjoyed rereading so much of his books and re-engaging and going deeper into why did C.S. Lewis tap into something inside of me that helped me. And I think part of it is his storytelling abilities, but also his way of speaking of the faith and speaking of spiritual things in very simple ways, yet also complex. But also the companionship I found with my earlier classmates in this. We became a strong group of young women who just really wanted to do what God was calling us, and we supported each other. And as my husband and I moved from North Carolina here to Virginia, that group helped me discern if this was my call to come back to the church where I grew up. And every one of them kept saying, Ann, don't you see? God is saying this so loud and so clear. And I'd say, but I don't want to go. And they're like, yes, that's right. You don't, but you need to. And it turned out to be the best thing. And I attribute that group being a significant part of my journey getting here.
Yeah.
Verbatims are tough. I'm just going to be honest.
They are.
I did CPE, and so I remember verbatims in that, and it is nothing like that. They are very supportive. You grow and you learn. It's not out of criticism. It is out of wanting the best for everybody in the group to grow and to learn from one another. And so I did enjoy those. I find it hard for me to get down exactly what happened because I'm so in the moment with the folks I work with that I lose track of the conversation. And so sometimes I have to think, can I record this and maybe jot it down? Then I can analyze it a little bit better for myself to see where was it that I got tripped up, or where was it that I went down a rabbit trail, or it focused on me rather than the other person.
Yeah. All those things we take to supervision with the verbatim. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, so Ann, beyond the center, how are you currently sitting as a spiritual director and taking clients, and tell us what you're doing beyond the center. Just tell us.
So when we came to this church, came to Central, I put out word that I was a spiritual director, and I had 4 people immediately come to me and say, I would like to do this. And I still am working with those same 4 people. I've added another friend from 35 years ago from Illinois, who lives in Illinois. So I do long distance, and we have been meeting for these past 4 years together. And he has sent me several of his friends. I've worked with some of them, and then, it's up to them to break the relationship. It's not really for me. And they got to a place where they were like, I appreciate your help in this. And it has been it's amazing to see how the Holy Spirit works in ways that I think it's going to go, doesn't go that way. The right questions get nudged out of me from the Holy Spirit in that moment. And I'll make a comment and say, I don't know where this is coming from, except I do know where it's coming from. But see if this sits with you, or see if this raises up something within you. And amazingly, it, for the most part, it does. And people are like, how do you know? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just listening myself. As I'm listening to you, I'm also listening to the Spirit and being guided by the Spirit.
The true director.
The true director, right.
Yeah.
So at this point, I am having a good amount of spiritual direction opportunities. I also have people who will occasionally say, I know you do that funky spiritual stuff. Can you talk to me? And we just have like 10-minute talk. And they're like, wow, how did you know all that? And I'm like, well, I learned to listen for what your question is and to try to dig a little below that. And so that's been good.
Yeah. So one more question for you, Ann, before if you want to give people contact information, if you are, open for new clients, or not, that's okay. Just, you can share that or not. But one last question, how has spiritual direction impacted you as a pastor and in your ministry as a pastor?
It has helped me to be much more comfortable with silence, whether it's in worship or in a meeting. It has helped tune my listening skills better. It's also opened up a whole new world of authors and podcasts and information that I just had never even tapped into. Things like the Enneagram, or Richard Rohr's writings, or Mary Oliver's writings, folks that I've never come across, and yet they have powerful words and powerful things to say, I think, in our day. One of my hopes is that when I retire, I would love to set up something similar to the Charlotte Spirituality Center wherever I happen to be, whether it's in Florida with my grandchildren, or in Virginia Beach, or wherever God may call me. I just have that sense that that is a needed element in communities for people to have a place to step out, to step aside, to find a place to breathe in the midst of the hectic life that we all live, and to take advantage of that moment to listen and to be with people. But I am willing to take new clients as people are interested. So my email address is Ann Aichinger, ANNAICHINGER @gmail.com. Or you can call me. My number is 828-446-8699. So I'd love to help if I can. And I just love doing what I'm doing. And I look forward to the day when I can do it full time and really be engaged and to grow myself spiritually.
Thank you so much, Ann. It's always wonderful to be with you and to see your smiling face and the joy that you exude when you talk about your ministry and your life and spiritual direction. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol. Appreciate it.
All right.